I've been using a certain idea for quite some time now. Actually, even back on Windows when I used HK. To explain the idea, let's first look at a certain idea in NeoVim, or just Vim. Let me go and bring the chat to that window as well. Let's move this. Blammo. Boom. So the idea is registers. Let's say you type something and now you delete it. It is currently in your default register, which effectively means it is the current thing that you have copied. So if you paste that. However, what if you're doing multiple textual changes, like another line? Say you delete this because you intend to move it somewhere else, and then as you go, you notice, oh wait, hold up, this word shouldn't be here. You do this, and then you come back to your place to like put the line that you deleted. Whoops, now it's the wrong thing because this DAW updated the default register. So effectively you have to be very mindful of what you delete, copy, change, and other actions too. So to try to fix this, Vim and NeoVim has registers. So if you just type reg, let's say, but I have an anime to binge. Which one? I've recently actually been watching quite a lot of anime, which gives me a lot of commits because of a certain program that I'm actually working on improving for tracking shows. So blammo, here you can see a bunch of registers and what their values are. And then you can do something like, oh, access B and paste from B, and here it is, whatever that is. Probably some macro. Second rewatch of, that's a really good anime. Well, at least I watched the first season and I absolutely loved it. I still haven't watched the second season though. Gotta be ready for the start of the next season. Wait, hasn't it already come out? Like the second one? And never even checked. So unfortunately, as with many things, Vim/NeoVim is kinda whack here and there, and I don't have any concrete pointers as to why, but I underuse registers. I think it's probably because there is no convenient way to edit what's inside of a register. Say I do reg G to look at what's inside of there, and I'm like, oh wait, this first word, local, shouldn't be there. I want to replace just that and everything else can stay. There isn't really a nice way of doing that. What you can do is let at G, this means the register G, and then equal sign, you surround it in quotes and hope that there aren't these quotes in the register's text, insert it, and then you I guess like go back. You can press Ctrl F here to open it in a buffer, and then do this, for example. Go back to insert mode, enter, and now when we reg G, there's no local there. Not season of that anime, but season of anime. Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, so it's like in parts. Why is like every anime nowadays coming out in parts? Hi, glad to see you here. Google didn't bother to send me a notification. Yeah, on God, like I heard But I heard this information from YouTubers, and I'm not sure if I should trust them, that even if you set the bell icon, or I guess I don't have a way of showing it, but effectively, you'll have like subscribe and then the bell. The default bell gives you notifications sometimes, which is the strangest feature. So like, it won't notify you of everything. It will just notify you sometimes, very, very randomly, and that's like the default setting. So yeah, if you want to get notifications for everything from a creator, you have to specifically press all. And if you don't want to hear just random notifications, you have to say none. And I don't do this, and I really should. Whenever I subscribe to someone, make a decision whether I want notifications or not, because otherwise they're just kind of rubbish if they're only sometimes, you know? Yeah, considering it says all, I know, right? Like, it's very strange. For example, I set notifications to all for like all the comments that you leave on my videos and VODs and so on, but YouTube doesn't notify me of every comment, which is really annoying, because comments are like the number one after live stream chat activity. Like, I guess number two important thing to me in content creation is the comments. Seeing comments, what people think of videos, their experiences, all that feels amazing. But YouTube doesn't like show me all of them. It's really annoying. Hello. Yeah, I would just obsessively check my YouTube studio instead, which is exactly what I do. I don't use Reddit anymore. I quit Reddit, as I like to say. So I still need a place to, by habit, come into on my phone when I'm like procrastinating, I guess, for like a minute or two. And the first place I come to is YouTube Studio, go to the comments, and it has a very, very, very annoying default. When you go to the comments, the default filter is for comments that I haven't responded to. And what are the comments that I'm most likely to not respond to? It's either straight hate comments, maybe they're like transphobic or something, but I guess then I just delete those comments. I don't welcome transphobes in my community. Then maybe comments that are like fair enough, that's a fair point, but I don't like can't do anything about it. So like it's a normal comment, it's absolutely fine, but I'm not particularly happy to see it, you know? Or questions that I just really don't care to answer because I'm like past that point. So for example, maybe someone is asking for an AHK tutorial. I don't do AHK, I don't care about AHK anymore, so it doesn't really, like, it's not about me anymore. So all I get to see at first are the comments that I don't want to see. When instead what I would like is to not have that filter be the default, and whenever I randomly check in, I just see like all of the comments, a lot of which and most of which are positive and warm my heart. So I should like come up with a better thing to like egregiously check entirely too often. Yeah, so Blammo, we edited it, but this approach, this method sucks. First of all, because this is annoying the hell out of me. So before we continue on, let me try to remove this bullshit with CSS. It is really fucking annoying. So scroll bars usually are really fucking in terms of HTML. Can you appear thingy, please? I beg of you. Scroll bars don't usually appear in the HTML, or if they do, it's like not conveniently. So I'm hoping I can just find it, although I doubt it. I remember I had a Danmaku style chat widget instead of a chat box. I don't know what that means actually. Danmaku style, I've never heard of that. I'm honestly going to be flabbergasted if I can just wait, why did it just leave? The scroll bar just left. It was like, whatever. Then it's messages by messages. Like those comments you get on Bilibili or there. Ah, so they like fly in? Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Oh, here it is. It's back. Interesting. I could just search for scroll bar, I assume. But I feel like I'll have less luck with that. I wish I could, like, I know this sounds kind of terrifying, but I wish I could disable my cats so they wouldn't bother me when I'm streaming and then turn them on again. But that's not how cats works, obviously. It's terrible, and I would always miss chat messages, so I also had a TTS thing going. But it saved screen space so I could put other stuff in there. Fuck yeah. Abusing screen space, I absolutely love doing. So I feel you on that. I don't think we're gonna find the scroll bar here. Yeah. Probably not. Let's try searching. Scroll bar. This is inline CSS. This? Wait, where is it pointing? It's supposed to be somewhere here. Here, I guess. Why are you not wrapping, for fuck's sake? Here I specifically disable it. Or at least I think, or rather, I think it's me who's disabling it. If that makes sense. Expand sizing targets for scroll bars. Like, why does this bug even exist? Like, why are you blinking? You know? Never do CSS on not your websites, because then you'll be really annoyed anytime something changes. Now you have to deal with it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like I'm gonna get much luck here. We're gonna have to just deal with it until it gets fixed. Okay, coming back. The issue with this approach of editing a register, and by the way, this approach was shown to me by a person whose name is Mihalter from the Astro NeoVen Discord server. Why did I join that Discord server? Because strangely, I couldn't find a generic NeoVim related Discord server, but I could for Astro NeoVim. So yeah, it's a cool method to be able to do, but it's kind of ass, because what you have to do is do let this. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's whatever. You could just make a hotkey. So, okay, fine. But then you have to, first of all, type in quotes, which once again, sure, you could make into a hotkey that automatically types them in or something of that sort. You could probably handle that somehow. But then you have to make sure that your register doesn't contain double quotes. And if it does, you're like, oh, okay, then single quotes. But what if it contains single quotes too? Then you're kind of fucked. And you're back to having to paste it in and then reselect it and delete it into that register. Basically, it kind of sucks. Like, there isn't a, oh, open this register in a new buffer, and once you close it, update the register. That's a very simple feature that I would expect to exist, or at least exist in a plugin, but I haven't heard about something like this. So it really fucking sucks, in my opinion. Yeah, and if the only two actions you can do is get or set registers, any small mistake costs you a lot. So I severely underuse registers for that reason, because I don't have a convenient way of editing them, which is why my global registers do not have that issue. So let's start with this. I made global hotkeys in Xremap that do different actions on global registers. What are global registers? They are literally just files. They are files in home.local share magazine, and then here they are, all the files that I currently have existing. So yeah, they're legitimately just files. It's as simple as that. And to do different operations, we read and write from those files. Blammo, it's pretty simple. So what are the actions that I can do? Let's go over them. First of all, I can write to a register. I press meta semicolon K to mean write, and now it expects a register name from me. So what I do is just press the key that is the name of that register. And let's write into 1. And now I can write text to it. Enter. You can see here that I special cased a few registers. If I put text into the numbered registers, so 1 through 9 plus 0, then this widget here displays that, oh, registers 0, 1, and 7 contain some text. So meaning those files there contain some text. So we wrote into 1. Whoopsie, I forgot what is in 1. Let's look at it. Meta semicolon, and a semicolon L to view, and now 1. Wait, what? I'm confused. Wait, why is it not showing? Flabbergasting. How? Because, that's why. That's hilarious. Right, I'm in do not disturb mode because I'm streaming. That's what I always do. And I forgot to consider that. So yeah, beta semicolon L and 1 without do not disturb, blammo, shows the text of the register in a notification and stays until I explicitly close it. I tried out making the notification just stay for 3 seconds, but I really quickly realized that no matter what time I set for it, it wouldn't be perfect. Like, sometimes 30 seconds will be too long, other times it's way too short, so it's better if I just make the decision when to close it, always. So that's currently how I'm doing things. But would you look at that? Instead of text, I said tet. Definitely wasn't intentional. Definitely wasn't so I could conveniently show off you the next feature. Meta semicolon, now Shift K 1 opens the contents of that register, but in reality that file, we can see here that this is just the file. Just open that file in NeoVid or NeoVim. We could open it in NeoVim by starting Alacrity that runs NeoVim, but I found that the launch time for NeoVid versus Alacrity plus NeoVim, they're similar, and sometimes NeoVid is faster. So now I'm using NeoVid literally always. So now I can do my change, I close it, and now when I check it, it has the updated text, which is really neat. Okay, so we looked at write, edit, and view. Okay, let's look at my clipboard. It has a file path here, but it doesn't really matter what I do. So I can like paste it, blammo. What if I wanted to get the text of that register into my clipboard? I can meta semicolon, comma, 1, and now when I paste something, it is the text from that register. Alternatively, let's say I copy something else, this for example. Now I have a different thing in my clipboard. I can write the contents of my clipboard into a register. Meta semicolon, shift comma, 1, and now when we look at it, it now has that. And we have 2 remaining actions that we can do. First of all, let's say I don't want to have anything in the first register anymore. Maybe I already made use of the information that it held. So now I don't want it to have anything. I can meta semicolon, Alt L 1, and it says here, maybe you noticed, a notification saying truncate 1, and the widget here also changed, saying that the first register no longer contains any text. And if I try to view that register, nothing happens because it's empty. I should probably make it so like if the register is empty, it actually says that. Let's add a note for that. Show notif register empty on view. Because right now I don't know whether my remap broke or if the register is just empty. I don't have a differentiator here, so it'd be quite a nice feature. So boom, it's now empty. Let's repeat the process of putting something into it. Let's put the word xremap.yaml there. Let's write there, boom. Now we can look at it, it has that. Let's say I went on to copy something else, so that now my clipboard is something else. And now I'm in a particular situation where I both want the text in the first register, and once I get it, I don't want that register to contain that text anymore. So I want to copy it, the contents, and then clear the register at the same time. I have a special case hotkey for this as well. I do meta semicolon, shift L 1, and you might have noticed that the first register no longer has any content because it's not displayed in the widget, And when I paste, I get xremap.yaml instead of the previous thing that was in my clipboard. So blammo, in total we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 7 actions, 7 different actions. Now 7 is maybe a bit too much, and could be argued that it is. Well, while a lot of people would probably just like stay at edit, just make all the registers editable, because, well, when you open them in Neovide, you can do all of those actions. However, it takes time for Neovide to like launch, and then to express those different actions, like copy to clipboard and then clear. So let's say it had some text here. To grab all of the text and clear the register at the same time, in Neovide or NeoVim, I would have to access the system register and then delete inside entire, which requires a plugin, by the way, and then close it. Yeah, I did the same thing as I did with the last hotkey that I mentioned to you, but I needed to do more for it. And for something that I will be doing really often, it doesn't really make sense to always rely on opening Neovide. It's a bit slow. It's more so for when I want to edit something or maybe write a lot to it. It's for those situations. Yeah, so that's why I have 7. How do I implement them? Very stupidly. As you can see here, I have all the mappings. So here it has the comma. And then for every fucking key, well, almost, I felt like I only really needed the letter and number registers. So no like special symbols and so on. So here they are. And all of them call magazine get, while specifying their letter or number. And shift comma is magazine set, magazine view, magazine cut, magazine truncate, and magazine write, and magazine edit also. Why magazine? I don't know, I just kind of came up with a word and it sounded good to like associate with this kind of program. Let's go to runners to actually show you the functions for all of this. I'm not going to be going too deep into actually explaining how this code works, because I more so want to show off the idea so that then you can implement it however you wish, rather than it being like a ready solution. But I guess it is. Like, out of all the solutions that I generally make, this is probably the most transferable. Yeah, so all of these functions interact with the file in some way or another to do the actions, and all of them, or most of them, send notifications so that you can be sure that it actually did what you expected that you did. Yeah, and some of these call update magazine. Let's go to the definition, and update magazine just updates this awesome window manager widget if it needs to, and it only needs to if the registers are numbers from 0 to 9. Yeah, so if you do some action on the register G, for example, the widget will not be changed, which is pretty nice. I considered displaying all of the registers in this widget. But then I remembered, like, I have 10 temporary widgets. It makes sense for this widget to exist to notify me of temporary registers that I intend to do something with. And in this case, I have 0 and 7. Both of them I want to kind of be bright, to be very visible, so that I don't ignore them. For example, 0 is my debt to myself. And I want to know about that, and I want to be annoyed with it. I want to be annoyed with seeing it so that I make sure to pay off my debt to myself. While something like this is the E register, I don't care about it. Like, I remember that it exists because I decided some time ago that it would contain this text, and I consistently use it in a certain situation. And I don't care to be reminded that it contains text. I know, I decided so, you know? So that's the difference why I only have the widget display some of the registers but not all of them. And this comes into a use case of these registers that I find really neat. And I've actually been using registers for this use case for quite some time. Whenever I have some Linux related question, as part of, I guess, prompt engineering, I have this text to type in. Blah, 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 some question. How do I do blank? And then I always want to specify this context on a NeverOS Awesome Window Manager X11. It doesn't really matter if it matters or not. I still want to specify it so that it doesn't accidentally give me a solution for Windows or a solution for Wayland or a solution for KDE or something like that. This kind of context is important very often, so keeping it as basically a snippet is pretty nice. Because yeah, in NeoVim, I can just have my snippets, but that's only a feature I have here. So having like global clipboard presets is really, really nice. So say I do how to use systemd timers, and now I want to specify the context. Like maybe there's like the path of them is different on EndeavourOS than, I don't know, Ubuntu. Probably not, and I don't think so, but who knows? See, like when I'm asking the question, I don't know, so I might as well specify the context. So I do meta semicolon, comma, e, insert, blammo, and I ask the question. So yeah, it's very, very convenient for that. And then a certain reason that almost is the sole reason for why I decided to make this kind of change. I used to have a note widget here. It would display text that I set into this widget in this now tiny space. It used to have quite a bit more space, kind of like this much, which goes to show just how many more widgets I made. I want to go over them later because I'm actually like super fucking proud. So it had enough space to go around and to display its text, but now being like, that's really not a lot of space, and I won't be able to fit in every text into here, which sucks. So using the note widget that I used to have before, felt like it constrained me, both because adding new widgets feels kind of bad because I have even less space for the note widget now, and because, well, there's already not a lot of space. So like, should I be using it? And then I thought, maybe I just add a hotkey that displays the full text of the note widget in a notification. And then I thought, well, hold up now. Why am I special casing a single note widget? Why is it like, get all the hotkeys in the world? When in reality, that single note widget was not enough. Oftentimes, I would want to keep information temporarily, and that information might be multiple different pieces of information. Maybe I did some calculation, like 3 plus, I don't know, 74, whatever, and I want to keep that information, for example, for whatever reason. Boom, I would put it into my note widget. But then maybe some idea came up that I want to do right now and want to be reminded of immediately, so I don't miss the thought, which can happen very easily for me. Well, shit, now I can't use the note widget because it already has some information, and I didn't have like more note widgets, and if I tried to make those, it would be pretty stupid in terms of usability. So I thought, hold up, I have global registers already. Well, back then I didn't have this widget, right? Why don't I make those more usable and just use them better? Which is exactly what I did. So now, maybe I'm like, oh, okay, I'm currently streaming and I have this idea that I have to talk about and not forget. Let's write into the first register this cool idea, and then as I stream, I'll notice, wait, hold up now, this one isn't usually here. I should probably check it because it probably has some idea for the stream. Oh, right, you know? So, hell yeah, now I've basically fixed the ideological idea behind my note widget and transferred it into a much better, more expansive, more expressive idea of global registers and more actions onto them. And now all of this space is completely fucking free. I can use it fully. So I'll create even more fucking widgets. I want to make a widget that will display me how much battery I still have left and whether I'm charging. I am effectively always charging my laptop. Always. So by all accounts, it's a pretty useless widget, but if sometime, eventually, I'll take the laptop with me somewhere, then I'll thank myself for making that widget. And I also want to make a widget that displays me that I am in mouse mode. And there was some other widget I want to make that I forget. Effectively, I want to have like a billion widgets. Let's continue on and looking at the definitions. Here, for example, in magazine cut, we just reuse the previous definitions of magazine get first and then magazine truncate. Pretty nice. Now, magazine write is actually something worth talking about because the logic is a bit more complicated. Rofi is not just a picker. It can also work as an input box, actually, where you can just write whatever text you want in there and it will return that text. Echo something. Boom. What just happened here? This is my runner that takes in text and interprets that text using my shell and then outputs the output of that shell command as a notification. So I use Rofi for that. I just take in text, and in the registers case, I take in that text to put directly into the register. Blammo. Let me explain you how this works, because it actually has a bit of fish magic, which sounds quite funny, like fish magic, but it actually reminds me a bit of HKV1, which sounds terrifying considering how much I hate V1, but I actually don't mind it in fish because it's consistent. So first of all, we call Rofi dmenu and pipe all its error output into the void. We ignore error output and only consider normal output, or std out. This command is what gets us the input box, and it returns the input that we put in. However, let's look at this situation. Currently I have nothing actually this situation, so we don't have any suggestions, because in this runner I actually have some suggestions here for commands that I'm very likely to run often, so that I don't have to type them out always. To give you a bit of a better example, let's just use a random input box I use for a different thing. So currently we have no input. We haven't typed in anything here. Boom, we delete text, nothing here. If we press escape, what we mean is that discard this operation, I don't care, right? We typed in nothing, and we don't even want to continue the operation. However, if we press enter right now, what we mean is I typed in nothing, accept that as the text that I typed in. Those are two different semantics. And we need a sentinel value to differentiate between them. Because if I type in nothing and press escape to mean discard, and now suddenly it sees my empty string as text, I don't want that. That's like, that would be really bad. But then if the opposite is true, and I made it so even if I press enter it considers this text as invalid, that would suck too. So to work with this, what I do here is echo status. So I execute the Rofi command and then echo the status that it just gave into this variable result. So all variables in fish are lists, basically arrays. So what ends up happening here is that, say we typed in some text, this is going to be at index 1, and status is going to be at index 2. So let's check the last index, and exit statuses, which is what we're using status here for. If the exit status of a shell command is 0, it means that it succeeded. But if it is not 0, that means that it failed, as you can see here. So we can assume that if the last index, meaning the status that we just got, if that isn't 0, we return 1, meaning we cancel the operation. And Rofi conveniently lets us do this, because if we press escape, it will and with a non-zero status exit code. So we can interpret that to understand that, oh, we canceled the operation of Rofi. But if it is 0, that means that we pressed enter, most likely. There are other ways to accept input in Rofi, which are like distinctly different. But let's just consider the enter for now. That means that the result variable at the last index is going to be 0. So we continue, and we immediately erase that result variable, the last index. What we end up with is everything that we've typed in so far in Rofi. So we collect that result so that if it is multiple values inside of that list or array, if it is multiple, all of them are collected into a single string, so we can use it normally. I do something pretty stupidly here that I should do differently. Let's print result into this, and we don't actually need all of this logic. So boom, we just print the text that we typed in into this file. Then we make a notification to notify us. Yep, you did indeed write into this file, don't worry about it. And possibly update the registers widget. Blammo. Now let's go to screen and actually look at the registers widget. We create a text widget, which is this, wrap it in a background to make it green, wrap it in a margin to have this margin to the right of it, and start it with not being visible. But this function is what really matters. This is the widget updater for this widget. And effectively, I'm not going to go over like the logic itself. We go through all of the files from 0 to 9. Every time we come across a register that is not empty, we add its number onto the widget string. And then, if this widget string is non-empty, that means that at least one numbered register has text, in which case we update the widget and show it also by changing the visible value. Blammo. So we then add it somewhere. Yeah, here we add it into our rebar setup, and we make sure that we call this updater function like once. Why? Because say I restart Awesome Window Manager. If I didn't call this updater function, it wouldn't be displayed here, because I haven't done the actions that update this widget. So why would it update? I would need to do some write or something of that sort to re-update that widget. So we need to make sure to update it ourselves when we reload also Window Manager, which I might do quite a lot whenever I'm working on some awesome Window Manager related widget or anything of that sort. And considering just how many widgets I have a bunch of updaters to run when I restart. Let me go and calm down my cats and I'm gonna return. Blammo, I'm back. Yeah, so that's my idea. I'm really happy about it. Cause like, it's so neat. It's so neat. Like, I have this widget. Wait, this hotkey that lets me write to my to-do list, and if we go to my to-do list, we can now see that it has this text. I use this really often, and I love this approach, just writing my to-dos in a file, and you can see all of the things that I plan to do. Yeah. So I have a way to quickly write down an idea basically, but I didn't have a way to kind of keep the idea in memory effectively. We're not technically keeping it in memory, it is very much on disk, but effectively I can now write into something temporary as if it's in memory. You have to do this literally right now, and I can keep it to make it stay so that I handle it as soon as possible, rather than this list, which is more so for the future. Oh, you're gonna need this, like, you're gonna come to this when you have time. Yeah, basically there's a semantic difference between the two, which I really enjoy. Now, I discovered something about how a Vimium works, and it's actually like pretty amazing. Let's go to YouTube so I can show you what I'm talking about. So I use Vimium, and in Vimium you can press F, and it will show you all of these hints on every link that you can press, so that you can press links with your keyboard. And you can notice that they take some time to appear. They're pretty fast, but they're not immediate. It takes some time. So I really often press this so that I can go into my watch later list. So I press F, now I have to wait for the hint to appear. I read it, it's FJ, blammo, we're here. And then maybe I reconsider it and I want to close this side panel. I do F once again, I wait again. Oh, it's J? Okay. Right? But what? Why? Ah, I see why it was moved. Because, like, we restarted Awesome Window Manager, of course. Yeah, so it's good by all accounts. Oh, sorry. It's good by all accounts. It should be good enough. However, for the really common things that I do, it's kind of annoying, this process, that I have to interpret those letters after also waiting for them. But turns out you don't have to. You don't have to wait for them. I was able to access this link before the hint appeared. I just remembered that, oh, when I'm in this state, by default, the hint for this place is FJ. So you can just say FJ immediately. And here is just FJ. So F of J, FJ. Isn't that super cool? Honestly, I aspire to reach this level of optimization. I know, right? I'm like impressed with myself, and I'm glad that I can teach others these kind of ideas, approaches, configuration that I've done. Because I spend a lot of time and effort on it. And it would suck if I just kept it all for me. I mean, well, technically it's public, but what are you gonna do with... Let's go into my repo. Let's go to GitHub to go look at my .files repo. Ooh, 30. Hell yeah. So we come into here. Wait, what? Where's the README? Are you not gonna explain it? Oh, okay, maybe it's in, there's a description. No description website. Okay. Let's go into a random file. Lesky. Oh, you're not gonna explain anything? You feel me? If I look at my .files project as a project, it's a pretty shitty one. I do not care to explain anything there most of the time. The organization is not like the files that are used in the file system. No, I just create my own file tree there, how it makes sense for me. And up until recently, I had a file called blob. It makes sense in my head, but it definitely doesn't in yours. If it does, contact me. You sound like you could be my friend. So, like, it's not a very understandable project if you just look at it not from my eyes. So I need to kind of do some work to show you and explain to you these cool things that I've created that might be useful to you, and then maybe give you links onto them, or at least just show the code so that you can explicitly ask me, oh, do you have that? And I'm like, oh yeah, you know? I'm honestly super bad about that too. My Inksconfig repo is exactly like that. I know, right? Because oftentimes when you make something nicer for others, you make it worse for yourself. That might just be because I'm autistic and because my brain works a bit differently, where stranger approaches make more sense for me than some more sensible ones. But when it comes to my .file specifically, it is a very personal project. So it makes no sense for me to like rework it in a way that would work less good for me, but better for everyone else. It doesn't make sense, especially considering that, I mean, yeah, I guess I do have like 30 stars on it. So clearly there are some people that enjoy my work, but at the end of the day, it's mostly for me. Where was I? Here I was. It's mostly for me, and it is mostly for hyper-specific situations that most people won't care about, understandably so. So, yeah, I was kind of demotivated about streaming for some time. And at that point, I think I didn't stream for about a month because I just couldn't find a reason to do that. Streaming hasn't been that fun for quite some time. It was really fun at first. I streamed like every day. But now, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not that fun. It feels like work. You maybe can hear that my voice is like giving out. It's hard to talk this intensely for this long. So yeah, it like feels like work. But the reason why I still continue streaming is because I now look at it differently. In the past, I look at streaming as something selfish. Oh, I'm here specifically and lonely just to talk about the things that people won't usually listen to. But if you're jumping into this content, that means that you specifically want it. Or maybe you think that you might enjoy it, so you want to check it out. So you're like opting into this content when you can't exactly opt into my rantings in DMs, you know? Appreciate that you can keep the conversation going even by yourself. That's really difficult. That's really easy for me. That's the thing. Well, I guess it wasn't at first. There was a lot of practice in making videos and then streaming. But like I talk with myself a lot. So it's kind of natural to me in this extent. It gets like a slight level of more difficulty because I'm actually talking to people, not just to me. And I have to be a bit more understandable than I can be with myself. Like when I'm talking with myself, I'll just switch between Russian and English mid-sentence 5 times in a row. Because that makes sense for me. And I might use strange words that don't even exist, but make sense in my head. Regardless. The way that I see streaming now is that it's... I know it sounds like very... What's the word for this? Maybe arrogant? It's not exactly the correct word, but it transfers the meaning well enough. I see it as charity. I did a lot of work, time, effort, etc. I know that it is going to be useful, at least to some people. The amount of people is a whole different question, but I'm going to help someone. Someone will see this idea and be like, holy shit, that's amazing. That's what I've been looking for all this time. And I can be sure of that because I get comments like these all the time. Oh my god, thank you so much. I've been looking for this. So, it's not about me anymore. It was about me and only me. I started streaming because I couldn't stop yapping. I just wanted to yap infinitely. I no longer really care about yapping as much. I'm a bit more personal in streams now than I was in the past, I feel like. So I bring you some programming content and also some like more personal stuff. I don't know, it feels right. But like, I'm not as interested about talking about the changes that I did in my config as I did before. Right now, I'm far more interested in actually doing more changes. Let's look at my ideas list. I want to be honest with you. I would rather be doing this, in a sense. You know? I would rather, I don't know, configure ESA, or do this, or this, or this, then stream. I realized that, and because of that, I decided to stream, to share with the world, to put in some energy into the world and into the people that live in it. Some person might be watching my content and be like, holy shit, I can make my setup better. And that's worth something. Like putting in work into the world. Even though I don't get much from it, what I do get from streaming is like I see comments, I see chat, I get to talk with people, which I really often like undervalue. Undervalue is not the correct word. It's not my priority, and it should be. I should be talking to people a bit more. So I get those two things. I'm in Russia, so I get zero money for what I'm doing. Yeah, so it's effectively charity, the way I see it. I get to help people and put energy into the world with the work that I do. That's my standpoint, basically. So that's why I stream now, to help people, so that I'm not like entirely selfish, you know? Blammo. I recently fixed another thing. Just mentioned Russian. For the longest time, if I am on the Russian layout, just to prove it to you, I would be surprised if you didn't believe me. Я могу что-нибудь написать на русском. Blammo. Certainly a little fire under my ass to actually try to get some work done. Hell yeah, I'm glad that I helped you out with that. So, in the past, if I'm on the Russian layout, I can't do shit. Say I want to change inside a word, it would do nothing. The blob file that I mentioned, it did a very silly fix where effectively I remapped every single key on Russian onto the English layout, so some things would work, but not all of them, only some of them. And recently I've actually made it work. So now I can do change inside word, although it's in Russian now, and it will actually work. Then I can press Ctrl W, but in reality, wait, why are you suddenly not working? It was working a second ago. That's crazy. It was working just a second ago, trust me. Not sure what the case is here, that it isn't working. Yeah, so basically now I can use most of the functionality, basically all functionality, regardless of the layout that I'm using. It's still preferable that I am on the English layout, because there might be a thing or two that don't work, and I'll explain why. But most things that I'm going to do now work, which is amazing. Oh my god, this happens to me all the time on Windows. It switches to Nepali or Japanese by itself. What the fuck? And then my Vim keybind stopped working, and that stops me from working for like 20 seconds until I realize what's happened. What in the living and dying hell is that? That's crazy. What the fuck? Windows is so whack. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll fucking blame Windows on this. That's ridiculous. So, let's go to my options thingy. Blammo. The option is called lang map. I think it's because change language is on Shift Alt. Please, for the love of God, change that. You can change it to meta space or Windows space in your case. And that's what I've been using for like the longest time, because Shift Alt appear very often in hotkeys. And if they don't, I feel like at least I use that in my hotkeys very often. So it's a ridiculous thing to switch layout. Especially considering that I hate when modifiers do things. Like, for fuck's sake, why do programs continue making modifiers do things on hold, on up, on down sometimes, which is ridiculous. Like, stop. There are hotkeys for this. Make hotkeys do things, not modifiers by themselves. Certainly not helped by the fact that the Windows command processor doesn't actually have proper Unicode support. Yeah, that sucks. I use Metaspace, but I haven't figured out how to disable Shift Alt. I wish I had Windows to show you, but like it's basically easy. Yeah, it's probably easy, just haven't gone around to it. Definitely do. It's like genuinely very easy. Like you can ask find for this. It's like perfect for questions like this. Let's actually ask it, how do I disable Shift Alt switching layout on Windows? And it will literally tell you. Okay, well, no, don't listen to it. That's the wrong answer. Usually it works. I'm implementing 12 virtual desktops with you as an inspiration. Hell yeah! I'm ruining my social life, but I love it. That's exactly me. Hell yeah! I see this title. Yeah, I'm gonna lock myself up. Yeah, same. Like that's literally what I've been doing. I don't have like an IRL social life, but I have fucking 30 stars in my dot files. Worth it in my opinion. Yeah, ignore that advice from Find. I expected it to be correct. You literally like look at settings and yeah, basically it's easy. Trust me, I've done this back when I was in Windows. I wonder, by the way, you say 12. What hotkeys did you decide to use? Oh, I assume numbers and then minus and equal, right? Do you use those? That would make sense for Ah, oh, I see. That makes sense too. Interesting. I think you would need to do Shift Enter. Wait, what? Really? Line. What the fuck? Wait, hold up. Line Control Enter. Control Enter just does nothing. Alt Enter also does nothing. Shift Enter just sends. That is strange. Hold up now. I think I have a solution. What if I edit my clipboard? Line 1, line fucking 2, and then I pasted it. Oh wow, it just doesn't recognize new lines. That's strange. Huh. That's really weird. Yeah, so that actually makes quite a lot of sense. That's pretty neat. It's a good arrangement of hotkeys. I would have sworn that worked. Shift Enter? How about we write 100 lines of code to do the enter thingy? We could, I guess. Could we like somehow change the code of YouTube chat? Anti-spam probably, so that people don't post Braille Unicode art. It's actually pretty annoying that YouTube makes decisions for me what to block and what to not. For example, it auto blocks links. I'm pretty sure it doesn't do that on Twitch, but on YouTube it just automatically does not allow you to send a link. You can actually try. I'm pretty sure it's going to block you. And I don't want that. I didn't set it to be that, and there is no setting to disable that. I want you guys to be able to send me links. Maybe you're like, oh, you have this issue. Have you heard of this plugin? Here you go. I want this kind of interaction to exist, but YouTube is just like, nah. What the hell? Like, it's ridiculous. Thanks. There's a GLL thing for it. The setup was quite easy for the virtual desktops. Oh, you're on Windows? Huh. Oh, interesting. I've actually never used virtual desktops on Windows. Doesn't let you, right? Exactly, yeah. It's strange. Like, I should be the one to make those decisions. I am the streamer. Let me like let me decide if I get scammed or something. Let me have links in my chat, and for me to decide whether to click on them or not. Like, let's not forget, maybe you're like, rickroll me or something. You don't even have that option. That sucks. Like, for a streamer, I guess I'm not exactly the conventional streamer, where I'm like, I don't know, reacting to content and whatever else bullshit. I do programming content, but still, jokes like that are like the bread and butter of streaming. Like, what the hell, YouTube? That's so bad. So, coming back to LangMap, has a bit of a strange syntax. So, first of all, it contains a bunch of keys, and then semicolon, and a bunch of keys again that are mapped to the previous many keys. So they are separated by a semicolon. I'm until ready for 36 clipboards, I think. Can you summarize the idea, please? We have 36 files, the names of which are keys. So yeah, actually we're not there. Let's, oops. Let's go to this path. Here we just have a bunch of files that are named after keys, and then we use xremap to make chord hotkeys to do different actions on those files. And then here we have a bunch of different actions where we can get, set, edit, view, write with Rofi, truncate, and cut. So 7 actions, any of those buffers. So what I can do now is, for example, view register 0 or write to register 2 with Rofi. And then I can delete that register. So that's the more or less idea. Yeah, but for more details, watch the first part of the stream, maybe as a VOD later, because all the streams that I do, they're then public as videos. Where were we? Oh yeah, so boom, LangMap. Thanks to this option, now all of the Russian keys are mapped to English keys when I'm in normal operator operator pending and visual mode. So all the modes except insert and command mode. It's really neat, and I'm not sure how I haven't heard of this before, because I've been using Vim for around 2 years, and I've also been rushing for at least 2 years, believe it or not. And I just didn't know about this for the longest time. It was suggested to me as a solution by me, Halter. I already mentioned this person on this stream. I met them on the AstroNeoVim Discord server. Amazing guy. Helped me out with a bunch of stuff already. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And the final thing that I want to talk about today is something that I really appreciate. So, I really often come into the situation where I need to look at source code of some program. Just recently, I needed to look at official GitHub I need to look at the source code of fish shell to find a certain built-in function to change its functionality. I actually talked about it on the last stream. I wanted to make this feature. I hope you understood by looking at it what I did. We edit the command line in VOD, and then however we change it ends up being on the command line. Check out the previous stream if you're interested in how I did that. So I need to go look at the source code. And when you want to look at source code on GitHub, it's not as great. Actually, I probably am in a wrong repository where it's like fish the shell rather than fish the various functions that it has, and I'm not sure where they actually are. So looking at source code is not very convenient through GitHub. And back when I used VS Code, using that instead is not viable in a different way. Because at least when I think it is that, oh, I just want to quickly look at something, so I might as well use GitHub for it, because I'm not going to do much. But then very quickly I realized that, oh, hold up, this is a bit more difficult than I thought. But yet I keep on looking at the source code in GitHub, and I don't have many tools to do that in a nice way. But if I wanted to look at it through VS Code, first I clone the repository, that's pretty standard, and then I need to open it in a new window of VS Code, wait for it to load in, and then I can do something when in reality maybe it was like for a quick thing that opening an entire VS Code is kind of not worth it, you know? With NeoVim, that is much less of an issue. Let's go to other. Oh, I was looking at kitty maybe? No, I was looking at fish. So what I can do now is gh-repo this. I clone fish shell. That wasn't too long. And I guess this process doesn't really change. I could and I should make it so I just clone depth 1, so like the latest commit, because that's probably all I want anyway. And then if I wanted more, I could just pull them, I'm pretty sure. Boom, I get fish shell. How do I access it from NeoVim? I don't even have to open a new window. I don't have to even close and re-enter. I just say telescope Zoxide, fish shell. Here we are, and we're just here. And I can go look at files. And I'm like, fish. Oh, I guess it does have here. What is any pager? Did you just see how fast and easy it was to go look at something? I'll tell you more. I can just as easily go to, if I had it stored in Zoxide, let's go and store it. Let's go to here, kitty, and that's all I need to do to activate it in telescope Zoxide. But it's actually a whole different discussion. I still haven't talked about telescope, and it is incredible. It's a big reason for why I think NeoVim was worth it for me. I've already explained my take in my stream on I switched to NeoVim. Explained my take that I don't think switching to pure NeoVim is worth it for most people. And it's not like a gatekeepy kind of thought process. I just genuinely think it is not worth the trouble, the effort, the mental head pain, and the amount of times you will bang your head against the wall. But telescope is like one of the biggest things that makes it worth it for me. So regardless, that's a whole thing I'm going to talk about eventually. Boom, I just switched to Kitty, and now I can go look at Unicode data fucking C, I guess. Boom, I can just go look at the source code for whatever I want. Oh, let's go back to fish shell. Blammo. Fish any editor. Jumped here. That's what it is. So you can have the power of my actual normal editor to just quickly go look at some source code without one of two, either being forced to look at it in GitHub, which has limited functionality, or at least functionality that I haven't yet learned. And it makes sense. Why would I? Because like, I already have my editor. Why would I learn another editor? Or two, having to open it in VS Code, which used to be the case for me, that takes at least noticeable time to boot up. It doesn't matter on the grand scheme of things, because once you open it, boom, it works. But it didn't feel smooth, I guess. Then I also have to wait for it to load up the syntax highlighting, and for me, at least, in NeoVim, it appears immediately. Like, immediately. At the very least, I can't notice it not appearing immediately. So, opening a project and looking at it is like, blammo, that's it. So, with the power of Zoxide, that's even better. The default way to switch to a different directory is by using the cd command, and now we just literally type in a path, that local share magazine, and now we're there. And I made the mapping for it. Leader DC shows me the current working directory that I'm in. It's not that necessary, but I found it useful. But yeah, I guess let me go to .files and show you that remap, because I assume it's going to be useful to someone. Boom, here it is. Let's go back to magazine. So yeah, the default way is by using the cd command, and I actually enjoyed the simplicity of it quite a bit. Once again, in VS Code, you would have to search for a command using Ctrl-Shift-P that is called open folder or something of that sort. Then it opens a window kind of like this one, where you have to type in a path in this GUI. If you know me, you know that I don't like GUIs. I would prefer to not have to use this if possible. And it also takes, at least in VS Code's case, it takes some time to kind of load in and pop up. And then it has, in my opinion, a kind of inconvenient or whack feeling input. I can't put my finger on why exactly I dislike it so much, but it felt kind of you know? I guess because it's a GUI, and I'm not a fan of them overall. Yeah. And then it still has the issue of needing time to load in into this new different directory. So moving through directories is very expensive. Maybe not very, but now considering the context of using NeoVim, comparing those two, yeah, it's very. But then if you compare VS Code and something like Visual Studio, VS Code is really fast by comparison. So it all really depends on what you're used to. But I really appreciate the speed benefit that I now get. The interface of opening a folder, or changing current directory in this case, is very simple. It's just a command, and I just type in a path. Prog, no, not like that. There is a way to autocomplete. Oh, I guess, yeah. We type in some command, and in case you didn't know, once you're typing in a colon command, once you're in command mode, you can press Ctrl F, and that will open that command into a new buffer where you can edit it with the full capability of your editor. So now we can say PR, then Ctrl X, Ctrl F to autocomplete the fucking path. Did you know about this? I learned about this quite a long time ago, but I heard that not a lot of people know about this feature. It is very fucking convenient. So Ctrl X, Ctrl F, and you can pick between the path. It recognizes relative paths also from your current working directory. But otherwise, full paths work as well. So I can say like dot files, and let's go to, for example, data. I press enter, and when we look at my current working directory, blammo, it went there immediately. And now I can like make use of everything that considers my current working directory. Yeah, so I find this like really nice. And reason why we're even switching to directories is mostly for LSPs, so that language servers can recognize the workspace in which they're going to be operating on language features. Like this, for example, just jumped to definition of a function. Boom, jump to references. Yeah, and for some like more project-oriented languages, I would call them, those that kind of like require a config file for the project, all that kind of stuff. For those, it especially makes sense. So I could go to Glaza, which is my project, which used to be called Floral Barrel. It is a show tracker, and I'm currently revamping very much. And boom, is like a Rust project that I jump to very ad hoc. So maybe I'm in dot files, I'm working on something, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do some project work. Boom, I jump to it, go to the file that I want to edit, and I just go on. I wait for the LSP to pop in and apply my syntax highlighting. This is the only place where it can take some time though, but that's because of the LSP being slow. Otherwise, the syntax highlighting is immediate. Blammo, it's loaded in, and now I can do stuff. So I guess my point isn't to differentiate the difference between VS Code and NeoVim. In both places, Rust Analyzer would have to take up some time to load in, like it did just now. But in NeoVim's case, I don't spend any time unloading in the actual editor and being kinda annoyed by all the GUI changes that I need to see for it to load in. It feels kinda jarring. But then the LSP, that I can kinda care about less, because considering that I jump to some file, I probably already know what change that I want to make. And at first, I can be fine to start working without the LSP at first. And then once it loads in, I can make use of the features of the LSP. So the difference is that what I care about loading in isn't as much the LSP as it is the editor itself. Because if I can enter text, that's most of what matters. The features can come a bit later. That's not as big of a deal. Make sense? And then, maybe I'm like, okay, I'm kind of tired of working on this project, kind of have some brain fog. Let's go back to .files. And I've been pressing this hotkey a few times. This is my personal hotkey that jumps to the .files directory. Effectively does this, but fast. And yeah, we're in .files. And then I can continue on working on my .files, which are usually less effort, than working on a project, but it might just be because I have an unreasonable bias against big projects that they're more difficult than working on configuration, when in reality, very often, I do configuration that is very fucking difficult and takes sometimes more energy than I would spend on working on a project. So I'm trying to work on removing that bias. So yeah, I really enjoy how easy it is to navigate directories in NeoVim, to jump between projects very quickly. And similarly, same thing comes for files. So this is the default way you would edit a different buffer in NeoVim, in case you didn't know, because I surely didn't back when I used VS Code. Blemmo, we jump to this file, and because of this simplicity, you can very easily add hotkeys that are effectively and specifically this, which is why I have double quote J that jumps to my notes file, double quote K jumps to my links file, and etc. Yeah. Wait. That's personal. Yeah, so because of the simplicity of jumping to directories and files, wait, it should be this, yeah. You can just make hotkeys that go you to some common thing that you might be doing. Some file that you would want to edit commonly, or some directory that you might come to very often. You can't really do this in VS Code, I don't think. And if you can, it would be in a pretty whack way that has some downsides. I know that that's I'm not giving you any proof that it would be the case, but I've been configuring VS Code very in depth. I haven't made an extension, but everything in terms of configuration without making my own extension, I went really deep in. And I understand now that it would be pretty whack, if possible, to implement this functionality for VS Code. But once again, it's so simple and easy for NeoVim to just have this. So I effectively have global marks for some files that I want to go to very often. And by the way, the difference between this approach and just using marks is that marks stay in one place. If I make a global mark A, and global marks are done with capital letters, by the way, then when I go to a different file and come back, I come back to the mark rather than to where I left off, which is a really big difference. You don't notice it at first, but then you realize that that dent is kind of annoying. Yeah. And then to add to that, I also have harpoon, which is useful somewhat. I'm continuously considering whether it's like worth using. A lot of people are like head over heels, as they say, about harpoon. I just feel like it's not exactly my use case, but I'm trying my hardest to make use of it, to try and understand where it works best for me, and make use of it. So yeah, and harpoon lets me do also double quote and S to mean to, blammo. So quite a lot of different ways to navigate files. And then do not forget my fucking, I would be underestimating when I said 20 telescope hotkeys, and let's actually go look at them, like see how many telescope hotkeys I have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 26, 34. I have 35 telescope hotkeys. And all of those, of course, help massively in navigating files in different ways. Yeah. So, thanks to all of this power, jumping to very different places via using very different semantics, like for example, oh, go to this fucking variable. Oh, go to this variable, but in the workspace. Blammo. That's a whole different project. This is awesome window manager. While we were in new Vim configuration, I can do this, you know? I'm not saying exactly that I couldn't do this in VS Code. However, I do remember it being really slow, but that's a whole different point. I guess my point is that NewVim has more tools and they're generally more expressive than VS Code, where I feel far more comfortable in jumping more into places that would feel kinda tiring to jump to otherwise. Tiring or slow. So now I can actually see myself doing pull requests to something like Kitty or Fish Shell. Or I guess not Kitty, I don't use it anymore. But Fish Shell, yeah, definitely. Because it's so free now to go and look at the source code that when I see a glaring mistake, I'm going to be like, well, I can actually pretty easily just make a pull request to it. I don't even need to go to the GitHub website because I can just gh create the title, fix something, and then it will open my editor. So thanks to all of this power, and it makes me look cool, which is exactly the most important part of software development. It's to look cool. This is the only thing that matters ever. Yeah. I guess, yeah. The end of the story is that it's kind of more comfortable. It's more comforting also. I was wondering if you work with Notion to remember all of this madness. No, I actually never used Notion, but what I do use is Anki. I've made quite a few streams on Anki, and if you ever feel like you can't keep things in your memory, please discover Anki in one way or another. Maybe from watching my streams, maybe watching some videos on YouTube, maybe by reading docs, whatever it is. I super recommend Anki. Anki is, I won't be afraid to say this, fucking changed my life. Which I know is a very YouTuber thing to say, but genuinely though, Anki is incredible. And among many other things, I use Anki to, I shit you not, memorize hotkeys. I still have 58 new hotkeys I haven't yet memorized. It was just recently 100. and I learn 7 new hotkeys a day, yet it's still fucking 58. Isn't that hilarious? Now, of course, you should make hotkeys with mnemonics so that you don't have to memorize them and you just kind of naturally remember them. That is true, but no matter how mnemonic your hotkeys are, if you make 100 of them in 3 days, you are not remembering all of them. And a common argument that people make is that, oh, those that you don't remember, that means that you don't need. But there are cases where there are hotkeys for pretty specific situations that do happen, and I do want to remember the hotkey for them when I need to use them. Even though it doesn't happen often, it is still important. So to be sure of all the hotkeys that I have and not have to worry about forgetting some of them, I just remember all of them with Anki. And that way I can be sure that I remember every single thing, which is exactly how I feel so confident in all of the billion hotkeys that I have. That's because Anki makes sure that I am confident in them by making sure I remember all of them. It doesn't let me not remember any hotkey that I make and add a card for. Yeah. And because of getting used to remembering all of those hotkeys, I feel so comfortable in, first of all, making new hotkeys that make sense for me and are easy to remember anyway. And then I can navigate all of these billion hotkeys that I have with ease because they're all in my head, neatly packed. So I incredibly recommend Anki. You don't usually use it for remembering hotkeys, but it's another use case. What I also use Anki for is for memorizing Unicode code points for emojis that I use. I shit you not. I am not joking. I would say I wish I was joking, but actually I don't. I think it's incredibly fucking cool that any emoji that I use, I memorize the Unicode of first, and then if I use it really often, I make a compose for it. But I only have a few composes because I find that I'm kind of like comfortable with memorizing Unicodes, and I like doing that anyway. Then for remembering Morse code, for all the various programming related knowledge, so that if I learn something, I never forget it, because it's very easy to learn something and then kind of forget it. I noticed it happen with CSS for me, and I found that really sad. It's like I learned it in the past and then forgot it. Then also to remember the flags of every country, to remember where every country is on the map. Let me actually show you. That's going to be better anyway. From deck, standum. What else do I have here? Oh, hiragana and katakana in Japanese. I'm not learning Japanese, but I used to learn it, and it just feels kind of cool to remember the two main alphabets of it. Yeah, so all that and some more miscellaneous stuff, like memorizing my credit card's numbers. Yeah, I agree. Wow. Uh, and considering all of this, that's why I can be so sure I have autism without getting a proper diagnosis. Because if it isn't, what the fuck would this be? I mean, I'm low-key joking. Like, this is not the only thing that I base my assumption of autism. Obviously, there are a bunch of different things that I noticed over time and researched. But this is like a quick way to prove that I have autism, because what allistic person memorizes Unicodes of emojis they use? And I already yapped about why I do this anyway on some stream. But yeah. However, Anki is still useful for like a allistic person, simply because it lets you remember stuff that you want to remember. Especially if you're in school, you're gonna get so ahead much more easily if you use Anki. Straight up. It is a superpower that most people don't know about, and you can minimize effort while maximizing your knowledge and your memory to prepare for exams. And guess what? You can remember that information forever if you decide to, if you care about the information at all, rather than preparing for an exam and then forgetting everything right after, and maybe the information is still needed in school. Definitely do, but it is pretty overwhelming. Anki, I mean. So there's this video that I'll recommend you. How to set up... Wait, hold up. I actually have this. Anki. Here you go. I really recommend this video that explains Anki. It's what I watched to set it up recently when I came back to it. I've heard Anki is very popular among medical students. Yeah, it is. And also law students, because they also need to memorize a bunch of stuff. And there's another category that I'm forgetting right now. But I haven't really heard about programmers using Anki very much. And then, after you watch this video, if you feel like you need more elaboration and you feel like I am like a good source of that, I have streams, kind of recent ones, where I went in depth about Anki and how I use it. It's really cool indeed. It's so good. I love it. It's very popular against medieval students. Yeah. So everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, morning, evening, whatever else. And I'm gonna go now. Thanks for watching.